Hello, this is the 36th lecture on Revelation and World History. Up until the last lecture, we learned that the contents of the book of Revelation and the prophecies are being fulfilled primarily in the Korean Peninsula and the Korean Church. In September 1907, the first 7 Korean Presbyterian ministers were ordained at the Pyongyang Presbytery. In 1910, the Korean Peninsula was forcibly annexed by Japan, and colonial rule began. The 105 people incident of 1911 marked the beginning of Japan's oppression of Korea and its full-scale persecution of the Church. During this period, the number of Presbyterian church members in Korea reached 144,000. This is recorded in detail in the minutes of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church in Korea. The following year, on September 1, 1912, the First Presbyterian General Assembly in Korea was formed. Despite the continued oppression of the Korean Church by the Japanese, the Korean Church continued to grow day by day. However, it was precisely during this period, on April 15, 1912, that Kim Il-sung was born. He was responsible for the complete annihilation of the North Korean Church, once hailed as the Jerusalem of the East. The combined numbers of Kim Il-sung and his son Kim Jong-il equal 666. The prophetic books also describe the geographical features of the Korean Peninsula, the place where this prophecy is fulfilled. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 8 describes it as the source of 2 rivers, half of which flow to the East Sea, and the other half to the West Sea. This refers to the fact that 2 rivers originate from the Chunji Pond on Baekdu Mountain. One is the Two-Man River, which flows into the East Sea, and the other is the Am-nok River, which flows into the West Sea. These 2 rivers form the border between the Korean Peninsula and 2 other countries, China and Russia. This confirms that the Korean Peninsula is the land divided by rivers, mentioned in Isaiah chapter 18 verse 2. In this lecture, we will learn about Great Valley created by the earthquake. Revelation and World History, Chapter 5, Section 3. A great valley, created by an earthquake. On that day, the feet of the Lord will stand on the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. The Mount of Olives will split in its middle from east to west, creating a very large valley. Half of the mountain will move toward the north, and half toward the south. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 4. In the lectures of Chapter 5, Section 1 and Section 2, we examined the geographical features of Israel as the site of fulfillment of prophecy. This accurately reflected the actual geographical features of the Korean Peninsula. Elsewhere, passages not only describe actual geography, but also political terrain. The words in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 4, do not refer to an actual geological earthquake, but rather to a valley created by a political earthquake. The text in Zechariah chapter 14 states that a large valley opened east to west, dividing the land in 2, north and south. This refers to the situation in which the Korean Peninsula was divided into 2 large halves, north and south. This refers to the situation in which the 2 Koreas were divided into 2 systems. And a large valley, the demilitarized zone DMZ, was created in the middle. This valley is so vast that no one dares to cross it. Because this valley stretches from east to west, people in the north and south cannot cross it. The Korean Peninsula was completely divided in 2, splitting into south and north. Germany, for example, was divided into north and south, with the land divided into east and west. Initially, the 38th parallel was a straight line, but after the Korean War, it was changed to the military demarcation line. The DMZ is so vast that no one, living in the south or the north, dares to cross it. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 2, which states, "Half the city's inhabitants will be taken captive," refers to the fact that half of the Korean peninsula will fall under the rule of the North Korean communist regime. As the Pacific War was drawing to a close, the Soviet Union entered the war. As a result, the prophecy was fulfilled, as Soviet troops entered the northern part of the Korean peninsula. The Book of Revelation and the prophetic books describe the place where prophecy is fulfilled as the east where the sun rises. This prophecy is being fulfilled on the Korean peninsula, a place located in the east where the sun rises. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 8 describes the geographical characteristics of the place where this prophecy is fulfilled. It states that a spring will flow from a single place, becoming the source of two rivers, half flowing to the East Sea and half flowing to the West Sea. That is the Amnok and Duman rivers, which originate from the Chunji Pond on Baekdu Mountain. These two rivers form the border between the Korean peninsula and two other countries, China and Russia. This confirms that the land divided by rivers, mentioned in Isaiah chapter 18 verse 2, is the Korean peninsula. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 4 also states, "The mountain will split in its middle from east to west, leaving a very large valley. Half of the mountain will move toward the north, and half toward the south." This refers to the division of the Korean peninsula into north and south. A vast dividing zone called the demilitarized zone has been created, creating a valley that no one can cross freely. This is further evidence that all these things are being fulfilled on the Korean peninsula. Not only is the historical context for the fulfillment of the prophecy mentioned, but the geographical characteristics of the place are also mentioned. In the next lecture, we will explore Matthew chapter 24 and the day of flight. It was the Bible History School. If you subscribe and set up notifications, you can continue listening to the lectures on Revelation and world history.